All right, so hope everyone's having an amazing Thursday. We're having a little technical difficulties for some reason. We're not able to get live on Facebook, so we're going to post this as a recording. But I am very excited to introduce to you guys someone who is very, very near and dear to my heart and just an absolute rock star in business. I would like to introduce to you Kimberly Keaton, who I have known for 13 years now and who I consider to be my soul sister. So that's just all the amazing personal parts. But in the business side, she is a force to be reckoned with. And I am just excited to have her on today. This is a passive income group. And, we do a lot on like 2 to 4 units and stuff like that. And, but apartments is part of passive income. And we haven't had anyone on yet to talk about apartment buildings. And that is Kimberly's forte. So Kimberly, welcome to the Remote Passive Income Real Estate Group.
Hey, thank you.
So glad that you're here.
I'm so glad to be here.
So tell us how about we start with, tell us about your background. Tell us about Kimberly. Let us get to know you.
Oh, okay. So my background is kind of diverse, as probably a lot of people in the groups are. And I think that's a strength, which is why I say that. So I originally graduated with a music degree and a degree in environmental science. I ended up creating and designing recycling programs for cities and counties in California. That led me into contract negotiations, into the consulting world to help cities put together and go through their request for proposals for garbage contracts, and work with teams all over the state and big attorney firms and all the city council and mayors and then work with the garbage companies to do that and all the compliance that went into it. And then shortly before I met Miss Stacy, I had decided I was burnt out on the politics related to trash, because it is very political. And I was going to start my own business, in which I totally and this was actually 2007. So if you had told me what was going to happen in 2007, I don't know if I would have quit my corporate career, but I'm so glad no one did, because it absolutely has been the best thing ever. And so I did something on the side, didn't work out. That's okay. I learned so much from it, failed miserably at it. But a lot of those skills and things that I developed in that process then led me into real estate. So I got into real estate in 2008, which is when so many people thought we were crazy. And Stacy, you were absolutely, without a doubt, I think the first person I sat down with and started talking about real estate with. And
I can remember sitting at that table.
Yeah.
Hey, how do I start the basics?
Yeah. It was so great, because I just loved you from the get-go. We met at the chamber and networking, which is still a lifeblood of all of this. And I was living on the boat at the time, totally crazy, right? And this was before you had kids. And so it was just so good then. And we sat down and we talked about it, and it was in the middle of the crash and everything, everyone's like, no, real estate, it's terrible, it's horrible. And you're like, no, we can do this. Let's talk about it. And that's what started the snowball. So I got into real estate. I did training and started investing in my knowledge, and again, just networking and connecting with people who were doing it. So that led me into, so my background really is, I'm like an operations kind of person. That's my happy place, and putting big groups together and making systems work and making things really efficient. And so I started connecting with other investors who needed help, and they were, maybe great at negotiating, but when it came to operations, that just wasn't their strong suit. So I just took what I was already doing as a consultant and moved it into real estate and started working with different investor groups and helping them manage their portfolios. I was running a portfolio. We had like 10 apartment buildings. Our largest one's like 182 doors. Plus we were creating notes. We were doing seller financing. We were raising millions and millions and millions of dollars of capital. And then I had other clients that I was helping with on Airbnbs and I had a property management client. So kind of what happens is people bring me in to help them kind of make their operations better. And it's so much fun. And then I end up getting to just help take people to that next step, plus do my own real estate as well. And so it's just, that's kind of how I got into it. And actually I've been working on the last year, took a little bit of time off, which is nice, right? You work hard and you get to a point in life where I needed to spend some time taking care of my mom, who was having a lot of medical issues, and just really grateful for what real estate did to create that space. And so now it's buy time. I'm so excited.
So first of all, that is awesome. And also I think something that is worth discussing, or at least stating, is that Kimberly has been the commercial trainer for a national real estate company for the last 3 years, and is just a highly sought after, highly regarded educator in this space, because not only does she know how to do it, and she's just excellent in operations, she actually knows how to teach. So I was really excited when she was available to come on and talk to you guys. So Kimberly, just, you were Z says you rock, Kimberly.
Thanks, Z. You too. I don't even know you, but I know you do. And I know everybody listening to this rocks. Everybody's got a superpower for sure.
So yeah, let's just kind of get into the topic of the day. So you said go ahead.
Apartments. Oh, well, it is an interesting moment in time. And I love what you do with the group, Stacy, and the access to information that everybody in this group has through you and Jennifer, because they're at the right place at the right time, and they just need to execute. And having you and Jennifer to help lead them through that in this moment, and what they've already been doing, laying the foundation with the 1 to 4 units, is amazing. And so I'm going to offer the suggestion to think a little bit bigger, because you guys can do it. You can totally do it. And now is the best time to be looking at it, because I was even laughing yesterday. Commercial realtors the last couple of years. So I basically have been on the road for about 6 months a year for about the last 3 years. So I've traveled a lot, and that travel has all been for real estate. So it puts me in about 20 markets a year, talking to realtors, talking to property managers, talking to commercial lenders all over the country. And in some markets, it puts me there multiple times. Some, there's just markets you go back to a couple different times. And so having been through all that the last 3 years and watching what's happening, and it's been challenging, to try to break into apartment buildings and not have all your systems maybe in place, because there has definitely been more attention on it the last few years. And I don't expect that to change significantly. I expect it to still be a really good asset to buy for a couple of reasons we can get into, but I do expect a lot of people to disappear. I do expect a lot of the buyer pool to disappear. And right now it's already slowing down. I had a commercial realtor call me yesterday saying, "Hey, are you still buying?" And I'm like, the market is shifting. If they're calling us, because we've been chasing them for the last few years, and if they're calling us, that's telling you something, that it's changing. And so to be able to, I've got 7 clients I'm working with right now, actually, all getting ready to go out and look at commercial apartment buildings as soon as we get the all clear. And so I have some suggestions to share with the group that, when the time's right, that I shared with them, because this is not a time to take your foot off the gas at all. You have such a great opportunity right now to dig deep, to dive in, get off of Netflix, watch these trainings, get prepared, do your research, lay your foundation, because there's still money to be had, and there's absolutely people out there with capital that are looking to place it.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit more. So one thing that you had said is, when we were talking, is, I think people think it's harder than it is. It might not be as big of a leap as they think. So kind of walk us through maybe someone they've purchased their first couple of properties, maybe they got a couple of duplexes, and they're like, I don't know if I'm ready to move into apartments, but maybe I am. I don't know. Like, kind of from that standpoint, talk us through your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. No, that's a great question. And really good, because you and I have kind of been discussing that offline. a lot as well. And it's a conversation that I have a lot with people, because for some, the thought of an apartment complex is, oh, I've got to go do one of those 200 unit deals. I've got to create a syndication, and those will set you back $15,000 to $20,000 to form a syndication. And how do I compete in these? How do I get somebody to take me serious on a 200 unit deal? And yes, there are absolutely efficiencies. I've debated with many of my friends about this, going, well, Kimberly, why do a 20 unit deal when you could do a 200 unit deal? I'm like, well, yes, it can be more cost effective to do a larger project. Absolutely, without a doubt, because there's a lot of operational efficiencies that happen when you have more doors. But if you haven't managed, 200 doors, if you haven't managed a property manager or worked in multiple locations or done major renovations, then to me, it's a question of risk tolerance. And what I would say is that all of us have the ability to stretch a little bit. So taking that stretch for you. So if you've got a portfolio of, say, 5 fourplexes, that's amazing. High fives to you. That's so cool. It is so cool. Let's stretch it a little bit. And now let's take that and go look at doing a 40 unit building or a 50 unit building. Or if you haven't maybe you haven't even done your first passive income property yet. Maybe you don't even have one rental, or you don't even have a duplex, which I would say, first of all, honestly, if you don't have a duplex right now, like, sell your house, go buy a duplex and live in half of it. Go get your first passive rental. That's just saying, because it's really nice when you have your tenant paying your mortgage, especially right now. Really, really nice. So that would be the first way you could go get one. But a 20 unit deal, a 6 unit deal, a 30 unit deal, those are nice, really kind of good project sizes to start with. And you're not going to be, the reason I think it's not as big a leap as you might be imagining is that I'm going to suggest that you really use your team and bring people in to help you with this and to leverage their expertise to help reduce your risk. So I look at real estate as variables. My background, I like math, I play piano, right? So there's those numbers things. So if you don't like numbers, that's okay. Make friends with someone who does, because they'll help you, right? Real estate's so much more fun with friends. But it's about having variables. And so the more you can answer those variables, those questions, then the less variables you have, the less risk it is. And so finding a good property manager is the secret, in my opinion, to all of this. It doesn't matter who your realtor is. It doesn't matter where the deal is. Who is your property manager that's really going to be in this with you for the long haul, because they are going to make or break this deal for you. And I love being able to bring in my favorite managers, or the generational managers. They're my favorites because they're crazy. I think if you do property management, and Stacy, I know you've done property management, and it's a special kind of crazy to do property management.
Truly.
And I love them for it. And I will pay them that percent all day long to not be called in the middle of the night, or to have to be dealing face to face right now with people, going through these crises, because there's so much emotions happening in that world. And a good property manager, a generational property manager, somebody that's been in the industry for at least, say, 5 years minimum, but 10 years would be preferred. Somebody that even went through the last crash would be my preference. They're going to be who you're going to lean on to determine if the property you're buying is a good deal. They're going to help you answer a lot of the questions that you're going to have, and things that, you've already got the foundation laid with the education. The students here already have this foundation from you and Jennifer on things to be looking at. So now we're just going to take those numbers and multiply them by, say, 20 instead of 3. It's okay. It's okay. You can do it. Yes, it's bigger risk, but answer those questions, run your numbers, and it's going to be okay. You got to stick to your numbers and your team.
I like it. When you say generational property manager, what does that mean? just someone who's been in the business a long time, or I haven't heard that term before. So I was like, what does that mean
So
to you?
yeah, oh yeah, no, well, it means the second set of family members have come in and taken over the
Oh,
business.
okay. Got
And
it.
having interviewed, gosh, I don't know, and not just like on the phone, but like literally sat down for like 2 hours with these property managers all over the country. There's a hand, like I would go to certain places in the country just to work with certain property managers because
Wow.
they answer all the questions the right way. And you get that by just interviewing people, talking to more people, and having done a couple of deals. Um, some of my favorites are the people. I'll talk about Mr. Marshall, my guy in Memphis, and that really, whew, we would not have survived without Mr. Marshall. And Ryan was another wonderful property manager we worked with in Memphis, and both of them were generational, and I would recommend either one of them, but they had differences. And they were both, their fathers had started the business, and they had they had been in these neighborhoods a long time, and understand that property managers have their own niches. So one property manager does not fit all, and you want the manager that fits the type of property you have. So some of them like single family homes and duplexes. That's awesome. I would never give that manager a 30-unit building.
Right.
Ever. Because they're going to run it like a single family home, and I'm going to lose a ton of money. But if they like the little, 10, 20, 30 unit buildings, and depending upon the neighborhood, because like the stuff we did in Memphis is not everybody's cup of tea. And so that needed to be a very specific type of property manager. Like you don't want to put your Whole Foods manager in your dollar store market. Like that's a bad fit. You're going to lose money. Nor do you want to put your dollar store manager in your Whole Foods market, because you're going to lose money there too. So both Ryan and Marshall were second generation. Now in Marshall's office, I think the youngest person there was like, in the entire office was like maybe 50. Was the youngest person. And Marshall was easily in his mid 70s when we first started working together, and still would go out and walk properties, walk neighborhoods, showed up to work every day. Loved him so much. And Ryan in his office was much younger. And so, but again, they were second generation, same kinds of neighborhoods. So I knew that they had the appetite for that. They could work with that type of tenant and do a really good job, because everybody deserves clean, safe, affordable housing and to be treated like human beings, no matter what your income level is. You always deserve to be treated fairly and honestly. And as humans, we are all brothers and sisters on this planet. We are all connected all the time. So, some of us just need different boundaries than others. That's okay. But Ryan, they were younger. They were like all about technology versus Marshall was really proud to show me his BlackBerry. And I'm like, okay, Marshall, as long, that's cool, man.
It's BlackBerry. Okay.
So yeah, he was so happy. He was like, I got this BlackBerry, and he pulled out of his pocket. He had like the tweed jacket with like rubbed holes in the elbows. And I know this man had probably like more money than God and had owned half the city. But never flashy. Ryan and his group were really great. They were just younger. They had more technology. We were already online. We could get real-time reports. And they both did really, really good jobs, but they had different strengths. If I could have only convinced them to have merged their companies, it would have been perfect. So anyway, so that's to me as a generational property manager. And I've sat down with people all over the country that, have maybe just gotten into business 3 years ago. And it's just, two people in the office is kind of them and the front desk person and the maintenance guy. And that's awesome. God bless them. Seriously, it's a hard business. But I worry about the bench, right? And I'm always, I always hope for the best, but I also plan for the worst. And right now is one of those times where I'm really glad to plan for the worst, because it's happening. And this is where we have to buy right. And we have to plan, and we have to be smart, and cash is king. So don't eat all your seed when that rent check comes in. You got to set some aside for reserves. And that's what's going to get the people through right now.
So what do you think, like, because this is kind of an unprecedented time, although
Yeah.
it's unprecedented, except not exactly, because in 2008, it wasn't a virus, but it was a similar economic disaster
Yeah.
at the time. So it's like, based on kind of what's happening now, like, do you have any insight, or what are your thoughts? I know nobody actually knows, but what are your thoughts about how things proceed? If somebody was looking into getting into an apartment building right now, what would be your advice to help them do it more safely based on the kind of uncertainty right now?
Absolutely. No, it's so I absolutely think everybody should be getting into apartment buildings. And I think that they should be starting that right now, any sort of multifamily. And the reason I say that, and that includes 2, 3, and 4 plexes. If your jam is a 2, 3, and 4 plex, man, go build a portfolio of those and work yourself into 100 doors, right? Like all day long. Because there's some real benefits to 2, 3, and 4 plexes from a financing side, right? Like you can go get a 30-year fixed loan. I mean, it's like the lowest interest rates. It's beautiful. Now you will cap out at how many loans you can get, but it's the best financing out there by far. And the multifamily, so the my crystal ball says that it's still a good buy, and it's going to be a good buy, and it's going to continue to be a good buy, is that in the last crash, we had an issue of overbuilding that had happened.
Right, that's true.
And we don't have that in this one.
That is true, right?
And we are at, when you track any chart, any graph, any resource of vacancy rates around the country, they are historically low. Occupancy is historically high. And even in areas where you can in a lot of places, not everywhere, but in a lot of places, you can get a tenant in 30 days, no problem. And the only reason it takes 30 days is because maybe the manager hasn't actually really been doing any pre-marketing to get somebody in immediately. And they're just a little bit slower in their planning. So they wait till the tenant moves out. Then they do the cleanup and the get ready, and then they've got to wait till that person can get out of their unit and move in on the first of the month. That should be it in just about any demographic all over the country. There's a few exceptions to that, but again, 6 months on the road in 20 markets a year for 3 years. The only places that I've seen be different than that are places that are still very depressed, like some of the South Chicago, not South Chicago, because there's a lot of stuff in South Chicago that I think is pretty interesting, actually. And it's block by block, street by street, but there's some really neat stuff in there. But you have to be really careful of those super high cap rates that you're seeing. When you start seeing cap rates advertised at like a 15, and they're out there, you start to see 15 caps advertised, that should be a concern that you're going to have some issues with turnover and with vacancy. And that tends to be places like some of the South Chicago side, some of the inner city Atlanta, some of the North St. Louis stuff. Those places, there are a few pockets that haven't rebounded. And so you can go into those areas, just you have to be a particular type of investor to do it, and you can make money. I don't think that's what this group is here for, so we're not going to focus on that.
You're like slumlord style?
Yeah, it is slumlord style. I've also learned slumlord is a very gray term. So,
yeah, that's very subjective.
One slumlord to one is another's, prince to another. So, but yes, it's what most of us would be like, oh, you could be a slumlord. Well, prostitutes and drug dealers need, housing too. So I don't know.
Got it. Okay. Just about like the tenant demographic.
Yeah. Everybody needs a home.
Gotcha.
But in those types of places, those are the only places I come across where your vacancy rates are still going to be up in the 20th percentile on average. Now, I would suspect that if your demographic is somebody right now that is in hospitality, so if you have waitresses and bartenders, or like this project I've been working on for about 3 weeks now, is a beachfront property, and the entire beach just got shut down. I mean, it's not good. It's really bad. Now, will it rebound? Absolutely, unequivocally. But it's also about being smart and understanding what your investors are trying to get and what you're trying to get out of that deal. So, how long can you wait for that return kind of becomes the question. But vacancy. So is it going to return? Absolutely. Because the minute people can get out again, they're going to be drinking and eating out of the house for a long time.
Yeah.
So it's going to recover.
That's a good point.
Yeah, they're all going to come back. They're all going to get jobs again. And there's a lot of people still working. There are so many people still working from home, or still having to go out there. I've got a number of friends that I was like, "Oh, are you home?" And they're like, "No, I'm in heating and air conditioning. I'm still essential." Oh,
there's actually a lot of essential services. I'm realizing if I have to go out to the grocery store, I'm like, there's a lot that's open.
The grocery store workers.
And we're on a complete shutdown, and there's still a ton of stuff open.
There is. So a lot of people are still working. And that being said, I'm still going to come back to the issue of construction and building and lack of inventory. And what was built over the last 10 years primarily has been what is considered A-class housing. It's all the really nice, high-end, high amenity. It's got the pool, it's got the gym, it's got the coffee shop. That's what's been built. And that is a very limited demographic. It does not fulfill the need of workforce housing at all. There is a huge shortage of that type of housing all over the country, and will continue to be, which makes apartments, again, the darling, for many, many reasons. Yep.
That makes
so
sense.
Get in.
So one of the people that are in our mastermind and that I do one-on-one coaching with she is getting into apartment buildings, and
awesome.
she had just made an offer. We made an offer like 2 weeks ago for $800,000 on a 20 unit in North Carolina, and the seller came back and we offered like 30-day due diligence, 60-day close.
Perfect.
And the seller came back and was like, well, I will take your price, which was lower than what he was asking. I'll take your price, but I want a 15-day due diligence and a 30-day close. And she was like, is that even possible? And I was like, all right, so a couple things. One, she's getting financing. To do a 30-day close, you're getting financing. There's just a way, like, you can't close that fast. Like, you need more time. I said, but here's the bigger thing. Right now, and this is, coronavirus had already begun, so maybe it was only a week ago, but it was clearly like, okay, we need to like slow down a little bit, because you don't want to have a 15-day due diligence that's going to put you at April 2nd or 3rd before you know what rent collections are going to be there. We don't know what the tenant demographic is there. Yep. And the last thing you want to do is go in and purchase a building right now that half of the people aren't paying. I said, so you go back and decline the 15-day. Like, I'm not saying back out of the deal. Like, let's just see. But don't be in such a rush to rush through your due diligence process, because what that's going to do, it's going to give you time so that it'll probably end up being, they still haven't actually accepted. So at this point, it'll be the 3rd week of April before the due diligence is done. Plenty of time to see what is the tenant base doing there? Because you're right, in some areas, that's going to be hard for the landlord to weather through if 3/4 of your tenants are in food service. That might be a problem, but if they're not, it might just be fine. So I said, don't rush the due diligence on it. Even if we could get it done faster, right now, like, slow down a little bit. We have another client who we're helping buy an apartment building right now, and she's doing a 1031 exchange, is closing on her sale in a couple of weeks. And I said, we don't need to rush the purchase. Normally I'd be like, yeah, let's get it. Like, this is like a really good time to you have time. Like, let's go a little bit slower and see what's out there. Let April rent collections happen so that you know what you're truly dealing with.
Absolutely.
So that you don't end up going in and having half the tenant population be gone or not paying. So that's what I've really advised people is, like, don't stop, like, keep going, keep networking, keep calling realtors. The realtors are now calling you, the brokers are not calling you.
Yeah.
But do not rush the due diligence. Don't take a faster closing right now. Like, time is your friend to have information so that you could really make an informed decision about it.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And especially if it's their first apartment complex and it's the first one in that market, because even if you've done it in an apartment complex, which I've done plenty, but going into a new market is basically starting over because all of the people that you trust and rely upon, those vendors, you don't have those relationships built. So I treat a new market like a first deal because everything's got to get vetted. And so I agree 100% that especially on your first deals, there's no need to push your due diligence so that you make a mistake at all.
Right.
At all. Now, a couple ideas. I would also say keep doing due diligence right now. So, like on this project that I was working on in Florida, which I don't think I haven't totally given up on, but you never know. Christine, I haven't given up on. And so, because people's stress point is people's stress point is what we don't really know and what makes a good deal. And there are people who are desperate all the time. And there have been people that have been desperate the last year that have been willing to sell deals that, I've had friends or people say, oh, that would never happen. I had a client buy a 56 unit apartment building in St. Louis and they closed on it in December. And so, I reached out to him the other day and I was like, hey, how's it going? Just wanted to check in on you. How are you doing out there? And he's still moving forward with his renovations. And he was projecting, in his pro forma, he had 745 for his 2 bedrooms. He figured he could get 795 easily. And his property manager is like, 795 is all I can get. And he's like, let's try for 825. So he took these units from, I think, like 650 to 825. And he just rented one this week. So
nice.
People are still moving, deals are still happening, but your timing is everything. And a willing seller will work with you on the timing. Now, so you might also think about putting clauses in there about occupancy. Like you could still make the offer, but it has to have a certain level of economic occupancy, not just physical occupancy, as I know but people actually paying. And that could be a requirement now. That could be a term that I would absolutely look at adding on to the deal. But you need the time and move forward with your due diligence. If you like the deal and you haven't put it under contract, there's no reason you can't keep moving forward with due diligence.
Right.
And stay engaged and stay involved, because no matter how many buyers they say they have lined up, maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I've been called back plenty of times on deals that have fallen out of contract. Are you still interested? Maybe, but here's the terms now.
Possibly. It's funny that's true, because that was one question as all this started happening are all of a sudden, is it going to be impossible to fill units? Because we just happen to have a couple that had March 31st lease ends and the tenants were moving. They had already found other places. And normally, we rarely have a vacancy for more than a week because we do advertising ahead of time. I do advertising ahead of time and send all the leads. Right?
You're so smart.
To send all my leads to my property manager. I don't want vacancy. It's expensive. And I wonder if people are still going to be looking. And every day I'm responding to between 20 and 40. Yep. Between those 2 units, between 20 and 40, either emails or Facebook Messenger. Yeah. It's usually, it's both, because Facebook Messenger, I get a lot of things, and then I get Zumper and Trulia and Zillow and Apartments.com are all sending leads depending on how people are looking. Yeah. And so it hasn't slowed down at all. Our main challenge at this point is our property manager being able to go show units, because
absolutely. But, have you guys converted over to video showings?
We haven't not yet, but that's something that we're in conversation about for that exact reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a number of clients that I've got a property management client I've worked off and on with over the years. And she's always been kind of ahead on the videos and having the walkthroughs and having them on her Facebook pages and stuff like that. And that's definitely the theme that's coming across right now from everybody, are these online, online walkthroughs. And so many of us, are technologically savvy and can, get it on our phones. And, even if I don't know if you've got a Facebook page where you show off any of your portfolio with your property manager, or if she's got a little page or something, but people, they know the area. They can take a drive by if they like the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's true. They can just drive by. And I just realized you just gave me an idea. I mean, I have I always do professional photography when I'm done with rehabbing. So I have all the professional photos. I can just throw that into Movavi and create put some music to it.
You're done.
And create a little video walkthrough.
Smart.
Thank you for saying that. I really could do that right now.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because this is how it works, right? And this is how, not just with you, but I've been having these conversations the last week and a half with many people, and why I believe that anybody here can make the leap into multifamily is that your network is your net worth. And I didn't come up with that. I don't remember who did, but it is the absolute truth, because on this project on the beach, it's a big lift. It's a heavy lift. It's a vacant building. And I immediately started pulling from my network. Okay, I've got a good friend that's a retired head building official twice retired from 2 different cities. So he knows construction. And I'm like, let's talk about it. He doesn't have to go out there and walk through it. He's been doing it for ever. And I love him for that. And so, there's so much, and it's these conversations, right? And it's this network, and it's this group, and everybody has this amazing network here in your passive real estate investing group, and somebody that's into it for 3 deals is, it's pay it forward to somebody who hasn't done their first deal, and those of us that have done, been in this, for over a decade now, and you even longer because you've been in it a long time, that's what we're here for. And that's what I've always loved and respected about you. And I love and adore about Jennifer is that you ladies are pay it forward people. And we didn't get here without people helping us.
Right.
And I would so much rather help someone make the right decisions, or at least identify the risks, and then they can make their own risk decisions. And just move forward. Do it.
I love it. Awesome. Kimberly, so if people want to just connect with you and talk to you more, how do they find you?
Well, now that I'm home, I have some time to work on my website, which I will finally get up and running. Haven't needed to. I've never needed a website.
Right.
And so how people find me, actually people ask me that question a lot, because they're like, so I could hire someone like you to help me on my portfolio? Yeah. But how people find me, and you just want to brainstorm, you want to talk about ideas, you want to run something past me, I so am glad for that. So I'm in your group, so hit me up. And you can Facebook friend me, but LinkedIn, honestly, so I do a lot on LinkedIn. In fact, it's been fascinating. I've gotten so many more LinkedIn invites the last couple of weeks since people have been home more. But yeah, LinkedIn and Facebook absolutely is how you're going to find me.
Awesome. Well, Kimberly, thank you so much for coming on. And, for those of you who stay involved in the group, for those of you who see this, one thing that Kimberly and I are working on, and I don't exactly know when it's going to come to fruition, but maybe sooner than later, is, right now Jennifer and I already have our mastermind going and stuff like that. And Kimberly and I have been talking over the last couple of months of bringing in a commercial meaning a multifamily apartments component of that mastermind. So that's something that we're talking about. So, when we are ready to officially launch that and stuff, we'll let you guys know. But in the meantime, stay in contact. We'll try to bring you more content in the apartments area. And now that we have Kimberly available, she's not traveling.
I know. Can I leave a quick couple of suggestions for the group?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So, take advantage of this time, and here's some very specific ways I just sent out to the clients that are all kind of on hold at the moment. So I'm going to share them with you. And so here's a couple of suggestions that I have for you to take advantage of this market, right? Is keep engaged in training. There's tons of training here. Watch it, implement it, do it, exercise it. This is a great time to exercise those muscles. So go do it mentally. Okay. Don't be watching Netflix. Go watch some videos. So then practice your numbers. So I'm sure Stacy's talked about net operating income, gross expenses. Exercise that, okay? Be doing that. Go look at deals. Get on LoopNet, get on Crexy, make your free accounts, start tracking properties, start doing the little hearts, create a spreadsheet, get over your fear of spreadsheets. You can do it. Watch some free videos on Excel, okay? You guys can do this. You guys and gals can do this. I promise you can do it. Trust me, I have helped people in their late 60s who have never touched a computer get just a little list going. Even my husband was laughing at me this morning shopping for toilet paper online, and I was calculating what was the best price. But anyway, so get your spreadsheet out, and I want you to start tracking all of the properties available on LoopNet or in Crexy within the markets that you're interested. Pick 3 markets, okay? And pick your home market as one of them, because then you can start gauging your home market to remote markets, and you can start to see maybe you live in a good home market for real estate, for apartments, maybe not. And actually every market's a good market, but they're just good for different things. So you got to start looking at these numbers to know it. And in that list, on your spreadsheet, I want you to track the addresses, track them all. So let's say look up every property under $2 million in that market, okay? Track the address, track the realtor, because really you're actually looking for the realtors and who's moving the most inventory, because those are the people that you want to be friends with because they control the deals. Track what's the asking price. Track then what's the number of units. And then you can do a little formula. I'm sure there's an Excel video on YouTube that says how to do a formula to where you divide the price by the unit to get your per unit price. Because we got to normalize these numbers and look at them, apples to apples, right? So look at it on a price per unit and read the descriptions. What does that description say? Is it a turnkey property? Is it really pretty and glitzy and finished and move-in ready? That's fine. That's great for like your 1031 buyer. Absolutely fantastic deal. Those of us that want to go make our money work a little bit harder, or we're bringing investors into the deal, we're going to look for something that's got a little more meat on that bone. So look for something where there's an opportunity to raise the rents. And you can read that in the description. Sometimes it'll tell you right there, it's got value add opportunity. And then start exercising the muscle to comp your rents. What are the rents right now? Look at the offering memorandums that are posted on there. Look at ask for rent rolls and ask for financials. Ask for the T12, trailing 12. That's the last 12 months of financials. So ask for these things, start collecting them, start looking at them, and then go comp your rents. So whatever they say the rents are right now, go on Zillow, go on Trulia, go on Rentometer, and do some rent comps and see, well, what could they be? What could the top of the market be if you're going to go make it nice, right? So see how much room there is to raise it. Start watching the crime in that area. Go look at some crime maps to see, okay, well, this area is going to be a little bit more high crime. It's probably a little bit more lower income. Doesn't make it a bad place. And be very careful. Warning, because I've absolutely done this, which is why I'm telling you from experience. I pulled up a property once and I had already walked it, and the crime was dark, dark, dark blue. And I'm like, what the heck? That's like the best part. That's like the hipster part of town. And then I started reading the crime, and it was all of like drunken, disorderly crime, pickpocketing. It was like, oh, it's everybody going home drunk at night, getting calls by, the older people like myself who are, why are they making so much noise? So anyway, start checking out the crime. Well, what kind of crime is it? Okay. Learn your neighborhoods, learn your areas, learn the path of progress. Where is there development happening in the city? And practice running your numbers, practice calculating your net operating income. My favorite formula is calculating your building value, right? So start looking at, cap rates. You got to track cap rates in these areas too. That's another column back on your spreadsheet. So start tracking what cap rates are. What do properties trade at in that area? There's going to be a range. It's going to be like 4 to 7, or it's going to be like 7 to 9, or it's going to be like 8 to 15. You'll see, go look. I promise you'll find them. They're different. And if you keep seeing the same thing, then you keep looking in big cities. So don't do that. Go look in small cities. Small cities are really cool. As my Cuban clients would say, they're very sexy. So go look in the small cities. They're very sexy. So, and keep your list updated, right? Start your searches, let stuff come in so you can see what's coming in the market. Track how long it's been listed on the market. They'll tell you on these sites. And again, pick 2 or 3, stay safe, run your numbers, and just lay that foundation. You're ready. You can do this. So thank you. Thanks for letting me throw that in there.
Awesome. I'm glad that you did. Well, Kimberly, thank you so much for coming on. I know that we'll have more opportunities to offer some great stuff to our group, and I'm just excited you're here. So thank you.
Love you. Love you, Jennifer.
We
and
love
all
you
of you people out there in, like, you know, virtual land, you can do this. You can do this. We believe in you. Go do it. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Kimberly. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.